A single coin. Barely 3 centimeters wide. Bronze, worn smooth by 75 years of passing from hand to hand. To most people, it's just a penny. But in its small circle of metal is an entire story. Of a country rebuilding after war. Of a new identity taking shape. And of the countless lives that brushed against it, for only a moment, and moved on. The year is 1948. Australia is emerging from the shadow of the Second World War. The troops are coming home. New suburbs creep across the bush. Families dream of washing machines, motorcars, and a better life. The economy runs on pounds, shillings, and pence. 12 pence to a shilling. 20 shillings to a pound. And in the palm of every worker, in the pocket of every child, lies the smallest unit of all, the humble penny. Look closely at this 1948 Australian penny. Across the top, bold letters arc like the curve of the continent, Australia. Below, a kangaroo stretches forward in mid-leap. Muscles tensed, tail sweeping like a brushstroke across the metal. To the left, a 7-pointed star. 1 point for each of the states, and 1 for the territories. A small symbol of a young nation still defining itself. To the right, 2 tiny letters, K and G. They belong to the designer, George Kruger Gray. The artist who, in the 1930s, replaced the old wheatsheaf penny with a creature that could belong nowhere else on Earth. The kangaroo had appeared on Australian coins before. But here it became the star. A lively, modern emblem of movement, distance, and wild space. This was the Australia that people wanted to believe in. Vast, energetic, unafraid to leap into the future. Behind each penny stood an industrial ballet. Bronze, about 95% copper, with a touch of tin and zinc for strength, was melted in great roaring furnaces. Poured into sheets. Punched into blank circles. Then, with a thunderous strike, pressed between engraved steel dies, until the kangaroo and star leapt from the metal in crisp relief. Millions of 1948 pennies rolled from the presses. At mints in Melbourne and Perth. Destined for shop tills, factory pay packets. And the jingling pockets of children on their way to the pictures. Imagine the journey of just 1 penny. In the morning, it might leave a factory owner's ledger. As part of a worker's weekly wage. By midday, it rides a tram across the city in a conductor's leather pouch, helping a clerk reach his office on time. By afternoon, it ends up in the hands of a small girl. Traded for 2 sticky lollies at the corner shop. Her world briefly narrowed to the rattle of coins on the counter. Every scratch on its surface is a memory without a name. A story of work done, food bought, hopes saved for. And sometimes, dreams postponed. On the other side of the coin, the profile of King George VI. Australia in 1948 is still part of a vast empire. Laws are signed in the King's name. Young Australians grow up singing British songs in schoolyards. Thousands of miles from London. Together, the 2 sides of the penny tell a quiet truth. A nation looking both outward and inward. Tied to an old world, yet carving out a new identity. On a sprawling, sunburnt continent. For almost 2 more decades. The 1948 penny clinked its way through everyday life. Then, in 1966, Australia changed its money forever. Out went pounds, shillings, and pence. In came dollars and cents. A simpler system for a modern economy. Millions of copper pennies were withdrawn and melted. Their metal reborn in other forms. But some survived. Forgotten in biscuit tins. Hidden in the backs of drawers. Or cherished by collectors who sensed that these small discs carried more than just monetary value. Today, a 1948 penny in exceptional condition is no longer pocket change. It's a tiny time capsule. Collectors study the sharpness of the lettering, the glow of the bronze, the fine beads along the rim. Each detail whispers of the day it left the press. Bright and untouched, ready to earn its keep in the world. What was once the smallest measure of value has become a way to measure time itself. A nation's history is often told through grand monuments and sweeping events. But it also lives in the quiet things. A ticket stub, a faded photograph, and a penny, passed from hand to hand, until no one remembers where it began. This 1948 Australian penny does not shout. It simply endures. In its worn edges and soft shine are the traces of millions of ordinary lives. Workers and shopkeepers, migrants and children, who built a country one small transaction at a time. In the story of Australia, even the smallest coin was part of a much larger leap.